Here is that painting. Impression Sunrise. Thin washes, intense colour, thick orange and white, making sunlight at dawn.
Did politics just evaporate then? Personally, I think Impressionism is political, but in a deep way. It wasn't that the Impressionists were disillusioned by politics because of the defeat of the Commune, so they turned to an art of pointless pleasure in loveliness. I think they responded to a major social change by radically modifying the relationship between society and art. They made a kind of art that deliberately opposed society's values.
From the perspective of today's official art world, it's art's duty to question widely accepted values. That's why anyone in the art world today questions Impressionism, because it's widely liked. Ironically, it's Impressionism that first kicks off this questioning attitude in art. Also ironically, today's new art is officially supported, whereas Impressionism for many years was officially despised. There's a parallel with money. Getting high prices is a measure of an artist's status today. They're not really thought to be artists unless there's big money on the scene. But for many years, apart from a few isolated periods, Impressionism was commercially worthless.
One period of financial success was just before the first Impressionist exhibition. In 1872, Monet completed a painting a week. He sold a whole batch of them to a single buyer for 10,000 francs. The next year, he sold much more to the same guy for twice as much.
A labourer earned about 2,000 francs a year, a doctor or a lawyer about 12,000. So making 20,000 put Monet in a very high income bracket, something like an advertising guy or a media guy or a Turner Prize level artist today. But the money wasn't regular. It came in stops and starts, and Monet was always spending, so he was always broke.
Monet had a specially rigged up studio boat that enabled him to observe the play of light on water at close hand. He slept on the boat and made trips round the large S-bends of the Seine. "You are the Raphael of water," Manet told him.
In reply, Monet, who a modern person might think should really have had counselling to learn how to take responsibility for himself, wrote Manet a letter in June 1873. "I have no more credit with the butcher or baker. Could you not send me by return mail a 20-franc note?"
Welcome back, an everyday tale of Impressionist folk.
In 1874, the year of the first Impressionist show, an economic depression hits France. The Impressionists believe it will soon be over. They are wrong. It gets worse and worse.
The big slump coincided with a big complication in Monet's love life. This is the Château de Rothenburg at Montgeron, on the outskirts of Paris. It's owned by Alice Hochet, who's a wealthy Belgian aristocrat. Her husband, Ernst, owns a lot of Impressionist paintings. They want Monet to decorate the interior of the chateau, and this painting is one of his decorations, turkeys in one of the chateau's fields. Monet stayed here 8 months. He left Camille and Jean in Argenteuil. It's likely that Monet's affair with Alice Hochet began now. The following year, Ernst Hochet goes bankrupt. He tries to commit suicide. He fails at that and runs away to Belgium. Monet's not selling anything. His family's virtually starving. He meets Alice in Paris. He tells her he's taking Camille and Jean out to a distant suburb where it'll be cheap to live. Alice says she'll join him with Ernst and the children. She's just had another baby, a 6th one. Maybe Monet is the father.
This is where they lived, the village of Verteuil. Monet and Camille and their son and the whole Hochet family moved here in December 1878.
Winter comes. Camille tries to have an abortion, but something goes wrong. The next year she gives birth, but falls ill from the after effects of the botched abortion. And then in September 1879, aged 32, Camille dies. Monet is devastated. They've been together for 12 years. He sees her lying on the bed, the corpse changing colour. I couldn't resist it, he said. I had to capture it as she turned blue.
Camille is only brushstrokes now. She and Alice and Monet and Ernst. That complicated drama is now going to simplify.
Here's the house where, first of all, 2 families lived. Now it's one family with Monet and Alice set up together as man and wife. Only they're not really married, which makes the neighbours look down their noses at them.
They soon changed their tune, though, when Monet started driving around in a Rolls-Royce with a chauffeur and earning 200,000 francs a year. Its rise to millionairedom was caused by the successful promotion of Impressionism in America by art dealers. This was in the 1880s. Monet went from broke to those days' equivalent of top of the rich list because of the dealer's business sense combined with his self-promotion.
It was like his brief period of commercial success 10 years ago in the early 70s. Only now he controlled success, and this time it was going to last. He allied himself with different art dealers and set them against each other in order to drive up his prices. He painted scenes in sets to give his exhibitions a unified theme. He painted a series of Rouen cathedrals, a series of haystacks at different times of the day in different lights. American millionaires would buy the lot. He arranged for positive profiles of himself to appear in the newspapers before the exhibition opened rather than after it closed, a strategy that now appears standard behaviour to anyone in the art world, but it was Monet who first set up a lot of what we now think of as standard in art.
Monet's paintings of Rouen Cathedral at different times of the day, they're well known. How good are they? Some are better than others. There's a constancy in Monet which produces both his good paintings and the bad ones. And what goes wrong with the bad ones is that close tonality can be slightly boring as well as exciting. Frankly, this surface is more exciting than this one. His story is all about the triumph of Impressionism, but it's only seen as that now. In the 1910s and 20s, it was sought by rich people to decorate their rooms, and even by the government to decorate new official museums. But the general public went on disliking it because it was too gaseous and abstract, while new cutting-edge modern artists disliked it too because it wasn't abstract enough. The stuff that drew the slaggings off and the eager buyers in equal measure was this kind of thing. Scenes of water lilies that Monet began doing at the end of the 19th century. They're based on a carefully controlled reality, a garden environment Monet created himself.
This is the most famous garden in art history. This is where Monet was living when he was having all his success. His place in Giverny, 40 miles from Paris, a little way along from Vautoy on the road to Rouen. Monet came here in 1883 with Alice and the children when he was 42. He had 44 more years to live. He spent them all here.
Over the years, he became a grand figure, visited constantly by high society and people in politics. This is actually the French Prime Minister with him now. He puts on dinners, he has himself photographed and filmed and interviewed, and he accepts a role as a kind of art god, which today's popular audience for art is still willing to give him.
This used to be a studio where Monet painted his profoundest stuff, gigantic, panoramic water lily paintings. Now it's an outrageously commercial, gigantic Monet souvenir shop.
key rings, jigsaw puzzles, calendars, Monet writing paper, Monet cookbooks. None of it can convey Monet's amazing ability to make the physical stuff of paint come alive.
That paint is an equivalent to reality, but this Monet mouse mat is a poor equivalent to that paint.